You're listening to Gen XP. Let's play some games.
Previously on the shattered world of Voar. Having reached the dungeon, the duo of Avo and Theric began exploring the shadowy depths, running into traps, broken statues, and eventually the Room of Colors, an explosive puzzle that left them singed and sore. Beyond the fiery punishment of the puzzle, they found a room of cold and clinging mist. The room held a trap, a treasure chest, and a clue to the past. Our adventurers were then set upon by a gray ooze, but managed to come out victorious before clearing the dungeon of its evil and emerging back to the light of day. Welcome back to the shattered world of Voar.
Theric and Avo emerge from the cool, close confines of the underground dungeon that you've spent the last day and a half in. You got some rest last night, though it was uncomfortable and cold. You emerge back into the early morning hours under the canopy of trees. A small amount of sunlight is filtering down through the branches. You can hear the distant chatter of squirrels and birds that are nearby. Small rumble of thunder from somewhere in the distance that signifies that you may see some inclement weather later on today. But for right now, it seems calm. It's fairly warm. It's especially warm when you're coming back up out of the cool underground that you've been in.
I'll cast Druidcraft and see what the weather's going to be like for the day.
Okay. So there's a little, I think that when you've described this in the past, Theric just basically summons a little invocation in his hand, and above your hand you can see clouds, heavy cloud cover, but no rain as far as you can see in the area.
Oh, looks like we might get away with it today.
So you find yourself standing in essentially the tree line looking out towards the lake. There is the trail that you followed in order to get here. Hawk Point is nearby. What would you like to do? It's early morning.
What do you think? Back to Novasona, or...
It's a long truck.
There's a weird-looking village down there.
Maybe.
It's got a skull and crossbones on this map, though. Might not be fun.
I'm curious to check it out myself.
Well, all right then.
Doesn't look to be too far off.
South it is.
So using your map, you're going to follow a general south direction, skirting the lake and trying to figure out where this village, or at least a number of buildings, are located on this map. As you start to pick your way along, you're back to I know that when you had your encounter with Madame Mabel that your wings were covered, but now you're alone, you're in the wilderness. Theric, your wings are exposed. Are you flying most of the time, or are you walking?
I can walk and fly as needed. If it starts to get like swampy or overgrown, then I'll just flutter.
If it's any difficulty walking, would just turn to flying. Understood.
Because
Understood.
I have, I can walk at a 30, which I believe you walk at as well, right?
Yes.
So the land to the south, as you leave the heavily forested area that you're in, turns... It turns very wild. The hike here was through, for the most part, a very dusty, very beaten down area, almost a valley between Hawk Point and the areas to the north. This area to the south, there are pockets of trees. There's small ravines. There's sometimes very steep hills. It gets to be a little bit of a treacherous walk. But I'm going to roll a real quick check here for something. All right. As you pick your way through the very rough terrain, I am going to ask one of you, at least, to give me a survival check just for general navigation.
You can make me do this still?
In this.
I'll do it. If you want, I'll lead the way. Is there any kind of trail or anything?
No, there's no trail. You are forging your own path through uncharted wilderness.
Beating back the bushes with my staff.
Yep. There's bushes. There are occasionally little.
Are there trees?
There are small, like clumps of trees here and there.
When there's trees, I'm just flooding from limb to limb. Like, let's go.
Okay.
Come on. Hurry up, Saltboat.
Okay. Here's your die back.
Was it another one?
Might have been.
Uh,
I have no adjustment on survival.
okay.
It's a straight roll.
Okay. That was going to be my next question. About an hour and a half into your day, as you're, and I think even with your ability to fly, oftentimes you're moving through areas that are overgrown, and unless you're let me ask, is Theric comfortable with leaving sight of Avo, or are you trying to stay where you can see each other?
I'll keep him in sight.
Then there are times where both of you are struggling to traverse terrain, climbing up and over boulders, underneath low-hanging, outcroppings, through very narrow ravines where it's almost, pressing on your back and your front as you're sliding sideways through them oftentimes. Gnarled roots that kind of pull at your feet, loose gravel that threatens to kick out at any time and drop you if you are on the ground. As I said, about an hour and a half into the day, there is a sudden whistle noise and a rock traveling at amazingly high speed cracks off the wall next to Avo's head. Small rock, and you heard like a small whip crack. You're not sure where it came from. Both of you didn't see where it came from, other than it. You got the definite impression it was either thrown or launched towards you.
Are we together?
You are
You
together.
said it hit a wall. I mean
You're
rock.
moving through a small ravine, maybe
Okay.
only 10 or 15 feet high, but it was the easiest way that direction still. Your ravine is maybe 5 feet wide, and it came from somewhere behind you.
Okay.
We come in peace?
You yell that out. There is a moment of kind of silence. You hear a few birds kind of scattering from the sudden noise. There's rocks that kind of clutter and fall down the canyon walls near you. But then nothing.
Is it
How much?
this ravine? Is it closer for me to continue moving forward or to go back? You said it came
It
from
came from
behind
somewhere
me.
behind you, but like I said, this is a wild terrain, so everywhere that you look, like the ravine itself kind of winds and turns. You don't have great views. The tops of it is covered with, thick bushes and thorns and wild vines. Where you came from was a small copse of trees that was surrounded by boulders. You've been climbing through very rough terrain trying to get this direction. So going back, you're about an hour and a half into this trip. Going back would be another hour and a half back through that rough terrain.
Especially if it twists and whatnot, then I'm just gonna press forward as quickly as I can.
Okay.
And I'll follow behind him, but as soon as we go around a bend, I'm going to fly up.
Okay. So you zip up. Are you trying to do something, or are you just kind of being high?
Just trying to see if I see anybody. Watch for people behind us.
Okay.
And actually, you know what? I will twist the lever and let the canary out and point that way. Tell me
Okay.
what you see, little bird.
All right. So you fly up. You crank the lever on the cogwheel illuminator. The little canary kind of flies out. Little mechanical noises. You hear the gears winding, and then you point off a direction. You're rushing forward, trying to put some distance between whatever did that and where you're coming from. Give me a perception check, Theric, with advantage because of the illuminator. Here, I'll take a metal die back.
Well, that's my second die roll of 1 tonight.
Thought you said you made friends with your dice.
I tried to. All right, apparently I was wrong.
Inside.
17.
A 17. Theric, as you see Avo rushing forward, trying to put some distance between this location and whatever might be coming up behind you, you fly up. Your canary flies out, and for a moment you study the wilderness around you. Rocky ravine walls, very thick brambles, trees here and there, bushes, boulders, and then there's a flash of white, and you zero in on that. It's the only thing in the region that isn't that color, that shouldn't be that color. And you see they're a ways back. One is much closer, but there are a number of small reptilian-looking bipedal creatures about the same size as you, but looks like a hunting pack of these creatures that are almost draconic-looking. They have got long snouts, little horns on their heads. They've got tails. They're wearing like little bandoliers. They've got javelins, and some of them have slings. The one that's closest to you is maybe 30 to 40 feet back, hiding behind a boulder, waiting for its companions to come, who are much further back. But it looks like you're being hunted by a pack of kobolds. White scaled kobolds.
How high is the ravine? How deep?
Maybe about 20 feet, but the top of it is all covered in thick like thorn bushes and brambles, which was why the ravine was the selected course instead of trying to ford through all of the dangerous vegetation.
I will. Did they see me fly up?
You didn't mention that you were trying to be.
I wasn't necessarily
obscured.
trying to be obscured, but I wanted to wait till we went around a corner, like I said. So
True, but if you flew up high enough to see them, then there's a chance that they do see you. I'm going to say that you do see the one that was hiding behind the boulder, the forward scout, that most likely is the one that winged a rocket, Avo. Does notice you, and you see him like duck down further behind the rock.
And how many did I count?
You think that there's between 6 and 10 of them. You're not exactly sure because as they were running in and out of the different parts of the cover and terrain.
I fly down, make a beeline, call the canary back. Come back, little bird.
Okay, yeah. He glides back and lands. Do you want him to go back into? He lasts for 10 minutes. You can. Okay, so he flies back into the lantern, and the shutter that he lives inside of kind of rotates shut.
I mean, I can just open it again when I look at it. I make a fly in a diagonal direction down towards Avo.
Okay, so Avo is quickly moving through this canyon, climbing over boulders and whatnot.
Do I know what kobolds are?
I'm going to say that give me an Arcana check.
Will I get advantage on that?
Is that another one?
Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive. What's the other die?
9.
16.
You know what kobolds are. You do know what the kobolds are. Yeah.
It's been lucky that you've had advantage, dude. But it's scary all the same.
He's just mad I'm rolling with somebody else. So I fly down. A couple of little kobolds coming at us. Well, between anywhere from 6 to 10. Do we want to try and keep ahead of them? Or do you want me to fly up and drop a rope?
Is there anywhere that this place seems to widen out?
At the moment, not that you've seen. When you first entered into this region, and it might only be maybe a half a mile that you have to traverse in this. When you started to climb down into here, you were seeing like just endless fields of brambles and thorn bushes, and you figured this canyon looked like after about a mile or half mile, not a mile, about after a half mile, it would lead out the other side of this region. So it's just a question of getting through at this point.
Okay.
You can climb up though if you want to. It's just that it looks like there's some dangerous vegetation up above.
I just want to keep pressing forward. If this breaks out the other side, I mean,
Okay.
we can try to look for a better position on the far side of the...
So let me ask a question. Your goals in this particular scenario, are you trying to run away? Are you trying to outmaneuver them, lose them? Are you going to try to hide? Are you looking for a place where you can stand and fight? What are your goals? So that I
I want to
know.
look for a place where I'm not going to be at a disadvantage, and then maybe speak to them
Okay.
and see where that goes. Which, I mean, may or may not go that way, but
Okay. Well, if you want to keep running down through the cavern, then I will follow from behind. I'm gonna
it's like,
fly
yeah,
up.
you're. I'm assuming you're good, just being able to get up and around the lip. If they're following through the ravine,
Oh, they're above the ravine.
No, they're not. They're in the ravine behind.
they're
you.
not. They're in the
Oh.
ravine.
Yeah, I'm gonna fly up to the lip and then hide and watch them.
Okay,
And
so
you.
you go ahead and keep a lookout from up there, because if they're just coming through the ravine, then you're
So,
not going to really be in any
I
danger
am
up
gonna
there.
fly back up.
Okay.
It hasn't been too long.
Mhm.
So after I want to make sure we move down around a few bends, and
You were having a conversation while you kept moving.
Yep. And after we move down around a few bends and stuff, and they're coming, I know they're coming. I want to fly up, and I want to hide though as I'm flying up, and not let them see me, and then wait. So
Okay.
I want to, but at the lip.
Okay. And Avo, you're trying to, with all haste, make it out of this region.
Just press on through.
Can
the
you give
ravine.
Theric, give me a stealth check as you fly up and try to find a place within the brambles to hide. And Avo, if you want to give me an athletics check for how quickly you're going to be able to run and climb and parkour through this canyon region.
17.
17. Okay.
24.
Nice. Okay. All right. So,
You've been rolling in there enough.
Avo, you go racing off and vaulting over boulders, your feet kicking up, loose rocks and dirt as you tear down the canyon. Theric, you fly up and carefully manage to push aside some of the pressing branches with the thorns. You notice that some of the thorns on these brambles up above this canyon, some of them are as long as your fingers. Like, they're very large thorns, and they look like if a unwary traveler was to try to just push through them, they would just tear them to shreds. But you carefully find a place within them, pull your cloak up, and kind of fade back into the shadows and hope to not be seen. Within, I would say, a few minutes of you splitting up and Avo is raced out of sight, you hear the echo of his feet dying down in one direction. You see a total of, they've regrouped, the forward scout is no longer far ahead, they're all grouped together. 8 white-scaled kobolds rushing down. They run with a little bit of hesitancy, and you can see that about half of them are trying to, they're not necessarily running in a formation, they're just all kind of running down the canyon, but about half of them are doing their best to stick to whatever shadows the walls of the canyon provides. You do know, based on your Arcana check, that kobolds don't love being outdoors in the daytime. They're sensitive to sunlight. Right now, there is some sunlight, but the clouds have been gathering, so you don't know how long there's going to be true sunlight. But they are racing, trying to catch up to where they believe the two of you are, and they pass below you.
I'm going to keep them in sight, but stay up on the lip if I can with the thorns.
You'd
What
have
about
to,
the other side of the ravine?
it's both sides. This is like imagine like a wide field that was covered in these thorns with a canyon that kind of went through it. So this whole area is covered in these large thorn bushes.
Okay, so then I will jump off as they get ahead of me and glide to the ground and then keep up behind them.
Okay. Are you trying to maintain your stealth? Because it's
Kind
going to
of.
make you go slightly slower.
Kind of,
Okay.
but I also need to know, I know that I need to keep up with them.
Okay. I will let you make stealth with disadvantage if you want to try to keep up with them.
Yep. have to try it.
Okay. So as they pass you, you glide down, you hit the ground, and are doing everything you can to run as quietly as possible. But they are running, trying to catch up to who they believe is both of you, but really just Avo.
Woohoo!
What'd you get?
23.
That's with
24.
disadvantage. 24 with disadvantage.
25 with disadvantage.
It's just gonna keep going.
Keep going up.
I got
26.
17. I don't know how to
27.
add. I have a plus 8
Okay.
to my stealth. I rolled
So-
a 17. I rolled a 17 and a 19.
Nice.
Yeah.
And with
The
the plus
roads
8,
are-
that it should be a 25 disadvantage. So you are. I'm going to say that you are using your wings more than your feet. I'm going to say as you're running, your feet are only touching the ground maybe every 20 or 30 feet, and it's mostly just like a glide from rock to rock, wherever it's going to be a stable, solid place to put your foot in order to push off again without having to make too much wing noise. But you're keeping them in sight, a safe distance in front of you where they're not going to notice you. And as you're doing that, Avo, you do reach the edge of the canyon as it starts to pull back up. It's still a rough terrain area. There's still a lot of pockets of trees, boulders, ridges, and whatnot that you can go to. And you see, I think that in the far distance, a few miles away, you can see a clearing and like the top of a building, but it's a few miles away still.
But when the ravine opens up,
It opens up and the floor of the ravine kind of climbs back up to ground level.
okay,
So it was just a dip down into.
but then flattens out, or
Not flattens out. This is a rough and rocky area, still with many ridges, pockets of trees, boulders. It's just you're out of the thorn area.
okay. Pulling out of this ravine. Is there any way that I can loop back on the edge of the ravine?
To a certain extent, yeah. I mean, it's not like there's there's not a hard line on where the thorn bushes end. It kind of peters out, but you can. Are you looking to hide, or are you looking to just?
I'm looking for a place where I can cut back so that they won't be able to see me or get to me until they're really close.
Sure. Yeah. The edge of the ravine would be.
Because
that.
I'm just trying to rule out their use of slings and whatnot.
Sure. You can do that. You think that you can either head up to the edge of the ravine and kind of use the natural terrain to your advantage, or there's several boulder outcroppings that are within,
But like,
short
I want to be close to the opening,
Mhm.
and then if I can find a place to sit and wait for them to.
Sure. So you move up along the one edge. Basically, as soon as it picks itself up at the incline levels out, you just loop back around, making sure to avoid.
You said they were kobolds? Okay.
Yep.
And you told me that they were kobolds.
Yep.
Am I familiar with kobolds?
If you'd like to make an Arcana check,
I don't even have Arcana.
you can make it untrained. This is a general knowledge of a creature that exists in the world. And you did grow up in a library for quite a while.
Okay.
It's an intelligence check. Yeah, no
so it's
proficiency bonus.
16.
16. You know what kobolds are as far as a general idea of them. I would say with no proficiency in it and no Arcana skill, you don't know about the sunlight sensitivity.
Okay.
But you'd know that they're of draconic nature, that you know what language they speak.
That was the main thing I was looking for.
Yeah, you'd know what language they speak. But you loop back and around, kind of tuck yourself in out of the way so that you're not easily seen from below. And then, are you trying to hide?
No, I want to be back enough so that they have to get close to be able to see me. But once they're to there,
So then you won't see them coming necessarily either.
I'm listening for them to come.
Give me a perception check.
I cheated.
You
I'm
cheated?
not attuned to the pot yet. We just got it today.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, you're not attuned to the pot yet.
I just realized that. It was the same day.
Maybe I'm not
We picked it up.
listening very well. Got a
So your heart's pounding in your ears after that
7
run.
on
Yeah,
my
heart's pounding
perception.
in your ears after that run. You're hearing the distant rumble of thunder, and you're hearing yourself breathing and trying to calm down more than anything else.
Okay.
Theric, you're chasing along. You see up front, in front of the kobold pack, the ground starts to climb back out of the canyon. And you realize Avo must have made it out, but you don't know where. And around that time, you didn't really hear them coming. They're not necessarily stealthy, but they're lightly armored hunters that are not making a ton of noise. And you're sitting, Avo, you're sitting about 30 feet away on about a 5 to 10 foot incline from them. That as this pack of 8 white scaled kobolds, little curly horns off their heads, little like red eyes on all of them. They've all got like little bandoliers of. It's not leather. You're both getting a little bit better glimpse of them at this point, but it's not leather. It's like this like a white fur that almost blends into with their coloring. But they've got bandoliers with javelins. You see some of them are carrying spears. A couple of them have little bags and sacks on them. But they come rushing out, and let me see here. Their passive perception is... Yeah, I think that after a moment they come to a grinding halt and quickly like start swinging their spears in line. They're in a kind of a loose clump, but you do notice that.
Did I notice them before they turned around, or no?
Kind of at the same time, because your perception roll that you got
Right.
was so low that they didn't know you were there, but their passive perception is high enough that they saw you about the same time you saw them. So it's a very like at the same time a large group of creatures comes into view, see you immediately, and then they just start leveling spears and yelling in Draconic, which you will understand. Theric, you see that they're about 50 feet in front of you, where they've spun to the right, leveled their spears. You see one of them is trying to load a rock into his sling, and they start yelling, though. Theric, you don't understand what they're saying. Avo, you hear kind of a high-pitched voice.
Turn on your bag!
They have spears?
There's
slings.
3 of them that have spears. There's 2 of them that have javelins, and then there's 3 that have slings.
So I can't understand them, but I want to close the distance if I'm 50 feet away.
Give me an insight check, though, Theric.
20.
You don't know what they said, but you heard it, that their body language and their behavior is clearly threatening and clearly hostile.
I want to close the distance if I'm 50 feet so that I can get there and around if things start to
Sure.
go.
You're having the distance so that you're much closer. And I'm going to just keep your same stealth check that you had last time. You hear him yell, "Throw down your bags."
Okay. I'm being non-threatening.
Okay.
I yell back in Draconic, "You wish to trade?"
There's a moment... Are you trying to de-escalate the situation?
Yes.
Okay, give me a persuasion roll.
Crit, 26.
Okay. There is a moment of absolute confusion for a moment. As if these creatures never thought that was a option. They've never heard that as an option before. There's some muttering amongst themselves. And Theric, sneaking up, you see that went from like a very aggressive moment to straight confusion. Like you see the group of them, and you don't know what was said. You just see straight confusion. You see a lot of like whispering. They're putting their hands to each other's faces so they can whisper quietly to each other. And then the one that yelled, that's kind of up front, he's got one of the ones with a spear. He says,
We do not trade with your kind, but what do you have to trade?
I have food. I'm kind of short on the weapons. I could use something.
you hear a couple of them, and you're talking in Draconic, correct?
Yes.
You hear a couple of them,
Yes, he has food, he has food.
and you hear one go.
He is food.
Then the leader there, he says, "What?
I'm full of grizzle. You wouldn't like it.
Better than Yeti. You need weapons? We have weapons.
Do you have any metal weapons?"
The one that has a sling, one of the ones that was loading his sling, when you say that, you see he like looks down and he's got a metal knife, not a dagger even, but he's got a metal knife that's on his side.
We have weapons. We are of the Frostfang clan. Of course we have weapons.
Any metal weapons bigger than that knife?
I want to keep working my way up closer to him.
Give me another stealth check if you're trying to get
I
closer.
figured.
Okay.
Bow. I get my bow out.
Okay, your bow
Arrow
quietly
down.
comes off your shoulder, arrow comes out, and you start trying to go from boulder to boulder to get closer. The one that has been doing most of the talking up front.
Show us your food. Show us the food you would trade, and we may spare your life.
All right. God. I will.
13 stealth.
Is there anything near me to prop my staff against?
Thornbush.
Okay, just like lean it
Okay.
into that.
There's about 30 feet between you two. You think that you'd probably have enough time if they were to rush you.
And then I start to pull my pack off.
Okay. There's a lot of murmuring while you're doing this. Just talk amongst themselves. In fact, I think that if you start to pull your pack off, the entire group will like move about 5 feet closer.
Okay.
And you notice that, Theric, you are paying attention to this, specifically knowing what you know. That 5 feet closer did move all of them into full sunlight. It's limited. The sunlight's not going to last for very long, but right now they're all in full sunlight. And then what happens, Avo?
I pull out from the top. I've got a lot of rations in there. I pull out one day's worth of rations.
Okay. And you just display it.
Yes.
The leader there, he says,
It's only enough for one of us. Maybe two for a day. You've got more in that pack. You throw the pack down, leave the pack, and you can go.
Thought we were trading.
We trade you your life.
you
You say you want metal weapons. We carry spears and javelins and slings. We don't have that. We can give you your life.
How many have slings?
3 have slings.
But I already have my life.
Maybe not for very long.
Are you that curious to find out?
That one that kind of piped in ducks back behind the leader, clearly not wanting that part of that interaction. He was just wanted to throw a quip out.
We are mighty. We are many against.
Exactly.
Where is your friend?
So from
Exactly.
behind, are they getting aggressive again, or are they still kind of?
As soon as that, they're all kind of following the lead of the one that's been talking. You see, there's a moment where you realize the one realizes there's only one person, and they were looking for 2. And he pauses a minute. He says, "Where's your friend?" You hear Avo say, "You don't know what they're saying," but you see him starting to get tense. The leader starts to become tense.
I'm just trying to read the situation. It looks like they're gonna get aggressive. I'm gonna shoot at one
Okay.
with a bow, with my bow and arrow.
Sure.
If they're not gonna charge, if it doesn't look like they're gonna charge, I'm just gonna keep my watch ready to shoot from my hiding spot.
I'm
gonna
going
make
to
sure that I'm hidden down, bunkered down, and good.
I want to speak again while this.
Sure.
You still have options. This does not have to end badly.
Okay. What are you trying? Are you trying to be persuasive, or are you trying to be intimidating? It sounds persuasive.
Yeah, I'm going more of it in a persuasive.
Okay. Give me another persuasion check then.
Uh, 25.
The spears were up for a second when he starts going,
Where's the other one? Where is he?
and you say this doesn't have to end badly. You see, like, the fins on the side of his neck kind of flare out for a second and quiver and then come back down to his neck. He steps back and he starts whispering to his friends, his other kobold allies. He looks back to you, looks around. You can see he looks very intently up in the air a couple times. They must have at some point seen Theric fly, but they don't know where he is right now. And you can see him scanning, and you read that they're probably looking for you at this point. You don't know what the conversation led to that, but they're not seeing you. He says, the front one there, he says,
We give you knife. You give us 4 food.
Can take a little bit more than a knife. I'm willing to trade 4.
Knife and sling.
No use for this. You got anything else of value?
you see him like look down. He's got a bandolier with some pouches. He's got almost like a messenger bag looking type thing on the one side that looks like it's full of something. He's got a spear in his hands. You don't see the only weapon you see of any metal on any of them is that knife.
What you got in that bag?
It's food. We come here for food. We find food.
For just the knife, I'm only doing 2.
He jabs a spear. He's a long ways from me. He jabs a spear. He goes
3. You give us 3.
2.
Give me a persuasion check.
So
You chose the wrong guy this time.
9.
You see like the scales along the top ridges of his eyes kind of curl together, and he says,
How many do you have? We might have more that you might want in our packs.
Enough for me.
We could kill you and take all of them.
Now we're back to you trying to do something.
And you might be back to trying to survive.
and he kind of like looks to his kobolds, and you see him start to spread out into a wider line,
All right.
not in a clump.
Drop the bag, grab my staff.
So from behind them, can I tell?
You drop the backpack, grab the staff. Okay.
From while they're talking, can I tell that things are starting to get aggravated?
Give me an
again?
insight check. It's difficult with not speaking
I know,
the language, but
that's-
that's why I'm trying to describe
That's
the body
why I
language
haven't
as well.
taken an action
Right.
yet.
That's why I'm trying to describe the body
Because I
language.
don't know what's going on. 11.
I think that you can read the general. It seemed to calm down for a moment. There was some consternation, and then you see a little bit more heated words, and you see them start to spread out.
So as they start to spread out, I target one with a sling and I'm shooting at him.
Okay, it's going to be initiative. You're going to have a surprise round on them. Theric will have a surprise round. Okay.
So I need to roll initiative. Right?
Everybody rolls initiative. The enemy has the surprised condition this round, which means they don't do anything this round.
18.
Okay, so do you guys... Yeah, this is the front for you, right?
Yep.
Like if you're reading it left or right. So Theric is going to go... What did you get?
11.
Okay. So, Theric, you take a second. You start to read the situation. You look at one of the ones with the sling. And you did see at one point one with a sling did look down and point at a knife on his belt. That's the only one of the 3 slingers that is different in
Target.
Okay. Go ahead and give me an attack roll.
Do I have advantage of surprise or is it just...
You do have advantage because
I get
they
sneak
don't
attack.
know you're there.
And I get my sneak attack die if I hit it, right?
You do. Because they don't know you're there.
15.
You do hit.
2d6. 1d6 regular, 1d6 sneak attack.
Okay.
10.
So, Theric, you read the situation. Your arrow knocks, quickly comes back to your cheek. You release it with a low hum of the bowstring, and that kobold, as it was starting to tense up, you see it dropping the pellet into its sling. An arrow just transfixes its throat, and it dies immediately in a wet gurgle and just collapses to the ground. You see the other 7 start to scream. Your position is exposed at that moment, but Avo, you react immediately as you see this arrow appear in one of the kobolds, who immediately dies.
I'm gonna bonus action hex the leader.
Okay, the one that's been talking. Yep.
Mhm.
Bonus action hex.
And
And they're all within. We're gonna use theater of the mind. We're gonna say either close medium, or far. Okay.
Okay.
They're all within medium range. So right now you'd have to move in order to get to them.
Okay.
Okay.
Then I will move to the leader.
Okay. Who's kind of in the center of the
There
line?
is still sunlight, right?
They are in sunlight.
He's in the center.
He's in
not
the center
he's
of the
not
line.
forward.
Well, I mean, so they were all kind of clumped behind him, and as they start to spread out, they're spreading out in wings on either side of him. So he's maybe a few feet in front of them, but not significantly. You're going to be within melee range of a number of them.
Okay. All right. Okay. As I move toward him to attempt to hit him, I'm just looking him dead in the eyes, going, one down.
Okay. You charge him with your quarterstaff. You yell one down in Draconic, I imagine?
Yes.
Okay. He's screaming as you run.
13?
That does hit.
Takes 7 bludgeoning and 2 necrotic.
7 bludgeoning and 2 necrotic. Your staff swings overhead, and you hear the bones in his neck break, and he just collapses onto the ground underneath you.
2 down.
Is that it for your turn?
Yes.
They would go, but they are surprised, so it rolls back to Theric.
If he got a turn, don't they get a turn though?
No, because Avo knew that there was violence coming.
Okay.
You initiated it, so no, Avo doesn't have the surprise condition, but they do.
I am going to knock another arrow and
Okay. Yeah, just so right now you could hit one that is near Avo if you wanted to continue to get sneak attack.
yeah, if I can, I will.
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
can.
that'll-
Yeah, Avo's there's 3 that are within range of Avo as far as being within melee.
And there's no negative to it, right? Yeah, I can't.
No, there's no negative to it. It's just if to maximize your ability, the ones nearest Avo are going to be the best targets for you. The
That's another one.
Good thing
11.
for advantage.
11. So that arrow, just by the smallest of margins, you hear the whistle as the arrow releases. It flies through the air, and the one of the kobolds that was to the left of the leader, as Avo smashed it down, kind of ducks his head to get a good spear stance, and at that moment, your arrow just whistles over his head. He's like, you hear him scream, kind of curse, which you understand in Draconic is essentially just a very rank curse word that is bemoaning their situation, but it did miss. Any bonus actions? Or movement? You're about 30 feet away right now. Well, we'll say 20 feet away.
I'm gonna actually move backwards. I'm
Okay.
gonna flutter my wings backwards about 20 more feet.
Okay, so you're gonna fly back about 20 feet. You'll end up about 40 feet away.
Yep.
Okay. Avo, it is your turn.
Actually, about 50 feet.
There are 3 right on me.
There are 3 right on you. One that's holding a javelin as a stabbing weapon, and then 2 that had spears.
Okay.
And then the 3 that are remaining, there's a javelineer and two slingers that are trying to spread out a little bit.
Okay. Well, one of the spear-wielding guys that's right next to me, I'm going to use my bonus action to transfer my hex to him,
Okay.
and then I am swinging at him.
Okay. Now your hex is, where does the hex come from?
For me, since these will be, eventually I'll be able to cast these as paladin, my couple of spells as paladin spells, I was assuming that they would be coming from a divine.
Okay. But it's something that is just ingrained within Avo. It's not something that you have to. You've not made a deal with anybody, because Hex is normally
Correct.
a warlock ability.
Right.
So this is just an ingrained ability that might even be part of what leads to Avo's belief system, right?
Yes.
Is there any visual for your Hex? Or a sound? Is there any description for it?
I had more or less just thought of like holding my holy symbol and like making a gesture in the air. I hadn't really thought about any kind of visual to it. More of a silent kind of, well, not silent, but non-visual
Okay.
effect. Sorry. It's not all super interesting.
All right, so you you spin to this next kobold, also wielding a spear, kind of looking in shock at the two of its companions that are already down. It's trying to level its spear at you. It just ducked underneath an arrow fired by your friend, and your hex falls upon it. Go ahead.
When I was going dexterity, not that I think it's really going to come into play at this point, but the dexterity disadvantage for the hex as well.
Gotcha.
16 in the class.
That will hit. Your quarterstaff whistles out.
For 7 bludgeoning and 3 necrotic.
Yeah, and again, you just crush one of these small. They're small creatures. These are roughly the same size as Theric, as they're starting to surround you. But you're
and
just.
I'm shouting out once again in Draconic, 3 down.
Okay. At that, you've got one spearman left on you. You've got a javeliner on you that's going to try to stab you with it. 2 of them, one javelin and one sling, run immediately towards your backpack.
Okay.
They weren't within melee range of you. They just run immediately to your backpack, which you were within medium range when you started. They get there this round and start rifling through your backpack. You see them just tearing into your backpack, trying to grab as much as they can. One of the slingers that didn't run is going to launch a rock at you, Theric, as he looks down at his friend with the arrow stuck in his throat. His sling comes up, starts to whistle in air, and then there's that crack as he lobs a stone at you. Does a 14 hit you?
Just misses.
Okay. You hear the stone just shatter on the wall behind you. The spearman and the javelineer that are still on you, Theric, you can tell that they are well practiced at working together. This group, not necessarily just these 2. They are a hunting group, and you can tell that they have, while they are suffering a little bit from the sunlight, their tactics are paying off. So the spearman tries to stab you. Only hits a 10. And then the javelineer also tries to hit you, but only hits a 13.
Both misses.
Okay. So they come jumping in, they kind of circle around so that they're keeping you between them, and you're kind of dodging back and forth as these pointed weapons are trying to find purchase, but you're either bashing them away with your quarterstaff or just your straight dexterity managing to avoid them. That is the 5 that remain. So there's 2 on your pack that have begun to tear things out of your pack and stuff them into their own bags. There's 2 on you, and then there's a slinger that's focused on Theric. Back to Theric.
Target one of the ones on Avo.
That's on Avo, okay.
Yep. Because the way
Spearman or javelin?
Spearman.
Okay. Yep.
Now in 5e, your dexterity doesn't have damage, right?
It does. It does.
Whatever score you're using to attack,
Well,
that
that's
also goes to damage.
okay. Well, that's a 23.
Your bow hums and an arrow appears in this thing's side.
14 points.
When I say it appears in its side, Abo, you can only see the fletchings sticking out. That's how deep it went into its torso. As this, just a wet bubble of blood appears on its lips, it collapses to the ground. Any bonus action?
I'm gonna duck behind a boulder.
Okay, so you take cover. That'll give you. We'll say that you can get partial cover, half cover from where you're at, which will give you a bonus to your armor class. Avo, it is your turn. There's 1 with a javelin still on you, trying to poke at you with a javelin. There's 2 on your pack, and there's a slinger medium distance away from you.
Okay. I'm going to move the hex to the one that's directly on me.
Okay. Give me a perception check. You hear the 2 on your pack. They're not yelling, they're not whispering, they're just a ways away, and the flow of combat is loud in your ears, but you do make out the words from the 2 on the pack.
Get what you can and run!
But you move the hex to the one that's still in combat with you.
Yes.
Okay.
Armor class 15.
That will hit.
For another 7 and 3.
Okay. Your quarterstaff this time comes up underneath its chin, and you watch as its body just flies backwards, broken.
And then I'm gonna move back to where the ones are at my back.
Okay. You kill that one and then rush back towards where your pack is. The two on the pack, it's now their turn. The two on the pack have what they've got. They've got handfuls of your possessions. They start to scatter in opposite directions. You're within range of them, so you can take an attack of opportunity on one of them if you'd like.
Quick eye, whichever one's got more stuff or more valuable stuff.
How many rations were you carrying?
18 days.
18 days. I'd say, okay, so I'm going to say...
Actually, not 17 days.
Okay.
Because,
It looks like one of them is carrying a few more rations. It looked like that's all they were trying to grab was your rations that were individually packaged. Wax leaves wrapped around packages of food, dried nuts, jerky, that sort of stuff. But there's one that's got a few more in his arms than the other one. He starts to try to run. You can take an attack on him if you'd like.
16.
That way.
Nine points.
You drop that one in his tracks as well, right as he's starting to leave your pack. The other one runs at full speed away from you, not back down the canyon, but just generally. So you were on the right hand side of the canyon. He's running to the left of the canyon and that direction. He gets. He's only running this turn, so he'll get a total of 60 feet away. The slinger that's still in the mouth of the canyon that was attacking Theric runs down the canyon. He runs 60 feet, so he actually runs 10 feet past you. He seems not interested in attacking you at this point. He's watched most of his companions die. He's trying to run back the way he came to try to get back to wherever he's from. But he runs past you. Just and you don't know what he's saying, but you just hear.
That one's got the food.
No, the one that's running past him has nothing.
I know. I'm pointing to the other one.
Okay. It would go back to Theric. You saw one run past you.
See that in common?
Yes. Oh, in common. No, this is not for them. This is for you.
Can I see the one that took off with the food?
If you fly up.
Okay, so I'll jump up and.
Okay. So you jump up, fly. You have a 30-foot movement.
30 foot.
So you fly straight up 30 feet. You can see the one. He's about. You were 50 feet back. He ran 60 feet that way. He's about 100 feet away.
He's in far range.
Okay, so that's a disadvantage attack.
I'll shoot at him. Uh, 16.
16 will hit. No sneak attack damage, just regular damage.
10 points.
10 points.
That's
He's
max
He
damage.
got max damage.
You see him. He's got essentially imagine 3 grocery bags full of food. He's just running, and you just watch this little body just and just kind of fall and slide to a stop. That's it for you.
Yep.
Avo, the only one remaining, the only one alive,
Is running back down
60
the...
feet back down the canyon.
Okay. Tell your friends not to fuck around!
It's his turn.
In Draconic.
He continues to run, and eventually, I'm going to say that he does a poor job of hiding at the end of that round. You can still see him. He's about 100 feet from you, Theric.
Well, I knock an arrow and I'm like, let him go or shoot him down. Shoot at him.
Do what you want. I don't feel like chasing him.
Shoot at him.
Okay, disadvantage.
I'm gathering up my food.
He's what, 90 feet away from me?
He's about 100 feet away from you. Yeah.
Well, I can move 20 feet up to not be disadvantaged.
Okay,
80
yeah, you
foot is short. Is
you
my
can
normal range.
fly up in order to get regular range.
Okay. So just a regular attack then.
Okay.
Yeah, I missed. That's an 8.
Okay. He screams and continues to run. I imagine you go pick up the food off the dead one that was trying to run not in
Yeah.
the canyon.
And
Well,
Okay.
are you chasing that guy down? Okay.
I'm done now.
Okay.
I just
like if-
figured
So
he was...
Theric launches one final shot at him, realizes it's probably not necessary, and then eventually flies back.
I just figured he was close enough that I could easily do it.
Sure.
Might as well scare him a little bit more.
Thank you for rescuing my rations, friend.
Rescuing your rations. They took your food? I didn't understand a word you guys were saying. What did they want?
Food?
Oh, they were just hungry?
Well, they were going to eat us.
My eyebrows shoots up. They were going to eat us? They didn't know where I was.
Okay, they wanted to eat us.
Oh, okay. I could have flown away.
A few minutes pass as you gather up your pack, repack everything. You go to the one that had been shot.
I'm
you can
searching the
I was
cobble.
about to say,
Okay.
once I get that situated, well, you've got time to do that.
So the only one that escaped was one of the slingers. Okay, which means there are a total of 3 spears. There are 2 slings and 3 javelins. Well, technically there's 6 javelins because all the javeliners had an extra javelin. There's 1 metal knife, which is a D3 damage, but it is a finesse weapon. And on them they have... Their packs are full of berries, full of mushrooms, squirrels, rabbits,
Awesome.
that kind of stuff. It's all fresh, like from today. So there's probably, if you were to quantify it into rations, it's about 2 days for you two. It'd be about 2 days worth of fresh rations. So it only lasts for about 2 days.
Well, that'll not bite into our...
And all of the bandoliers are made out of a strange white fur.
Okay.
How much does the fur weigh?
Not too much.
I'll build fur.
I would say that the bandoliers themselves, you've got 7 bandoliers, maybe a quarter of a pound each. So between the 7 of them, it might add a pound and a half.
The spears, are they better than my homemade staff?
They're essentially the same as your homemade staff with a flint head attached to them.
Drop my staff and take a spear.
Okay. You take a few minutes. You gather up some stuff. You search the kobolds. I think that the only other thing that you find of any interest is the leader there that was originally speaking to you has it's just a leather medallion on a simple leather loop around his neck. And the medallion itself has what looks like three mountains with snow at the top, which kind of match the symbol on your map.
This
I
symbol?
take 2 of
Yeah.
the spears.
2 spears.
That's
okay.
probably where they're from. They're a little far from home.
I don't know. I just know that we haven't even made it to the
I'm going to
buildings
take
with a skull.
that.
Okay, you take that medallion.
Mhm.
Okay, like I said, it's just a simple leather thing that's been kind of like burnt with the symbol.
And I'll take the knife too.
Okay. Yep, D3 damage, knife. After the clouds at this point, after the few minutes that you've spent gathering stuff and checking bodies, the clouds have gathered and there is no more direct sunlight. It is a very overcast gray day.
As she take the knife, I go, do you want a dagger? No, I want one out of my boot.
Sure.
Oh, here you go. And I hand you my dagger.
You want a knife?
Sure. And I put that in my boot.
Okay.
I don't know how much I'll use it, but in all honesty. Because it depends. If I can get sneak attack, the dagger's better than the spear. But if I can't, then the spear is better.
They're both still better than a knife, and I still have my bow.
Right.
I have 15 arrows left.
So you can recover half of the arrows.
Well, I fired 4.
Right. So you
Right.
could recover 2. Well, after taking some time to gather and reorganize your inventory, get your backpack packed back up, swap some weapons, were the two of you continuing on?
You saw a roof. I haven't come up out of the ravine yet. Well, I did. 'Cause I searched
You
it.
would have now. And I
Yes.
think that when you flew up also to shoot the one that was flying away, you would have seen a few miles away a cluster of buildings. It looks like there's a tree line and then a wide area that's been opened around this cluster of buildings. A few miles.
So, do you want to move closer and then I can scout? To see what's there? See if it's really a skull and crossbones?
Did you want to scout first?
I mean, I can.
How far away is it?
It's a few
Couple.
miles.
Couple
But
few.
it doesn't look like as treacherous of terrain as the ravine and the thorns. This just looks like, picking your way through little pockets of trees and boulder outcroppings.
I mean, apparently I'm pretty good at it. They didn't even know I was behind them.
If you want to scout, that's cool.
But the two of you are going to move closer, is what you said.
As
Yeah.
as we're going, I figured out. Now that I know this arcane stuff, I think I know what I want to do. I want to make a new magic.
Cool.
I want to make armor that I can make disappear and reappear.
That would be useful.
Just for a little bit, like when just be like, and it goes away, it goes into a dimension or something.
You're starting to get back into an area where you're starting to see, deer tracks here and there. There's, rabbit and whatnot. You starting to hear birds again as you're moving into this area.
Is this like a plainsy area or forested area? Or
It's not well depicted on the map. So this is, imagine, to put it in real world terms, like think like the Midwest where there's hills, there'll be like a pocket of trees that's like a half an acre pocket of trees, there'll be like some rocky outcropping here. It's kind of a little mixture of everything, but it's kind of a rolling
rolling
terrain.
hills, plains, little, like you said, a little forest over there. If there's a forest by the closer to the town, that's where I want to angle toward.
Okay. All right. So you're going to, it takes you about, we'll say, only half an hour to make your way to the forest. This has been Gen XP. Thanks for listening. Catch you next week.